as we get ready for a big first week of finals, the calm before the storm. Friday first thoughts for Conveyor Logistics, your warehouse automation solutions. Let's have a listen to what the Melbourne president, Kate Roffey, had to say, some of which with Gerard Whateley yesterday on SEN.
Do they actually believe this stuff that they say? I mean, I've heard that people in Melbourne, Gary Pert, seriously, when he went with the best culture he's seen in 40 years at the start of the season, and we see what's unfolded. And I hear Kate Roffey yesterday. She couldn't have contradicted herself more in 20 minutes if she tried. That you have to hear that interview. Outstanding job by Gerard Whateley. And if you're going to come on to say something. Come on to put the Melbourne faithful at ease that the place is in good order. Christian Petracca got hurt on June 10.
Yep.
That's 12 weeks ago. Hasn't spoken to the family. No real update on Christian. No real finger on the pulse at the time, let alone a month after, let alone 2 months after, and still no real idea.
Amazing. Like Tom Morris was with us and he said on August 9, I checked this date yesterday, about the first time it came public that the Petracca camp was unhappy or disgruntled with the way that the injury was handled and the subsequent follow-up from that was August 9. So that interview yesterday with Kate was on August 29, and she still hadn't spoken to Christian Petracca or the family about it. And then to say that culture is not just when essentially looking at the challenges and dealing with it, then to not have spoken to them in times like that is really hard to believe, isn't it?
I find it laughable. If you're in this position, how many people do you really need to look after at a club? Like next level look after. There's probably 5, 6, 7 that are centres of influence at your footy club. Your captain, Max Gawn, you've probably got to be close to Viney, Petracca. You know, Oliver's been a hard work for them, but he's one that they would channel a lot of energy into. And to have this slip through the cracks at a vulnerable time in a young man's life like this, I think it's almost unforgivable for Melbourne fans. That they would be disappointed with their senior leadership. And I think something's got to change. I really do. I think if you really love the club, sometimes it's best to just separate yourself. I almost think it was the Brad Banducci moment yesterday from Woolworths. You just get things so wrong with your public messaging. You have to walk. I
think there'll be a big fallout from this, and I wonder of the role of Simon Goodwin in this, because I just never want to hear the word culture come out of the Melbourne Football Club again. I want to take you back to the best and fairest last year when Simon Goodwin had this to say.
One thing that has enabled us to keep showing up is our culture.
So I came on radio on the Monday and this is what I said. I said, it's a stretch for the club to get up there and tell us they have a strong culture. Melbourne players, supporters and the media should see straight through that. Melbourne is a good team, but they do not have a strong culture. Can we just put that word to bed now? From Gary Pert to your thoughts, to Kate Roffey, to Simon Goodwin, I just don't want to hear it anymore. It's laughable.
Yeah, but I've lost trust with those with their hands on the wheel.
So what happens now?
Well, you've got to have change. You can't just roll on with this.
So she said no review. No external review.
Yeah, you don't need a review. They know what's gone wrong. I think Christian's told them what's gone wrong. And they would have to say, I expected her to come on yesterday and say, we've made some mistakes here and we've handled this situation poorly. We misread a couple of things. We probably tried to cover those internally. We're trying to look after sections of our business at the expense, as it turns out, of Christian Petracca and his family. And own that. Just own that. Because in the end, if you lose the player, that's the reason. And if you keep the player, he says, well, at least you've admitted that. Thank you for saying that. Let's step through what we can do from here. If you don't do that, then how can you recover? Because the players will be fine. Everyone's got a best mate they've upset at some stage. And you front up and you say, look, sorry about that. And you get on, you recover. It takes time, but you get through it, right? From a football point of view, it won't be a problem. But the trust for that, for the overarching decision makers at the footy club can't be there.
Give us your first thoughts, 1300 736 736 to have you say on this. So I mean the fallout you would think is going to be significant here, Kingy, and you wouldn't think of a club that's in a more challenging position than the Melbourne Footy Club now, and where they go to from here remains to be seen. What do you think of the leaks coming out of this club? It's almost like the minute a player has an exit interview, 2 hours later, the whole of the exit interview is becoming public. Or the minute 4 players, like the story Sam McClure broke was extraordinary, where 4 players catch up at Max Gawn's wine bar And in the Age story, it says that 3 of them have spoken with the condition of anonymity. There was only 4 players there. Everything is going straight to the media. Feels like there's the Petracca side, there's the Petracca teammate side. Feels like there's clearly the player agents playing a significant role in this, and that is the sign of a poor club when this much information is leaked directly to the media. It's amazing.
Yeah. Can we just start by saying any meeting of significance, can you stop having them publicly? Can you meet at a house?
Well, Robbo's done the one in the Herald Sun today about the teammates that were meeting at a restaurant in public, and there's another table next to them taking notes of what the players are saying.
At Marion's got those little tables you're nearly sitting on top of one another. You can't have a meeting like that at Marion's, I'm telling you. No, I just think it's crazy. But my initial view, though, Corns, if you're not worried, if you're honest enough as a footy club and you're across things, like if your finger on the pulse, you know where the players are at. Like exit meetings shouldn't necessarily be the first time you find out this sort of information.
Yeah.
Like if you've got your finger on the pulse with Christian Petracca for the last 12 weeks, you're across the family, he should be in love with what the footy club's done, not angered by what they haven't done. So I feel for Christian in all this and the family, and I always think about, if that's my son, how am I feeling? And I'm in that side of the camp.
Does he have any blame in this, though, Christian Petracca? Like, I don't think he's without blame in this. Like,
what are you blaming him for?
The talk around leaving for his profile, and the talk around wanting to play in front of bigger crowds, the talk of wanting to have the success. I feel like you don't hear Marcus Bontempelli speak like this.
No, but I don't know if, you know, those things that you take one bit of fact and it just gets extrapolated out. Where would you like to go? I'd like to go to a big club.
Yes.
I mean, it could be as simple as that.
I know, but like players like Patrick Cripps, who's played in 3 finals in his life, has been toiling away, carrying that footy club on his back. I feel like Christian's role in this should be to help the Melbourne Football Club turn things around, turn their culture around, set standards, and make some change.
But you can't do that, mate. If you haven't got the support above you, you've got no hope of doing that.
But he was happy there when they were winning in 2021 and winning Norm Smiths. So I don't think he's without blame.
Of course he was, because he was fit and healthy and rolling on, and they were all loving him then.
But it's not Melbourne's fault he got a knee in the back from Darcy Moore.
No, but the minute he did, they've dropped the ball.
Yeah, I know. But is that the reason to want to get out of the whole place? Yeah, of course the care could have been better, the follow-up, the calls to his family, all of that. But I don't think it's
I think it is
irresolvable, is it?
Well, it's not irresolvable, but someone has to accept blame, and they're not accepting blame at all. They're looking to, we know what's going on. We know the issues. We'll sort it. No, you sort it out. You've had 12 weeks to talk to the family. They should have talked to them 30 times. I just feel like they've allowed this to start as a little snowball, and now it's so big they can't control it. They can't stop it. And Christian's unhappy. He's not the only player that's ever been unhappy at this stage of the year that you can't woo back and win back, obviously. But I think to blame Christian is unfair. So
you don't think zero blame?
Not zero blame, but very minor, minor. And I think the messaging from what he's saying, the brand Petracca stuff is getting put out. He does have a brand. Of course he does. There's a lot of ways to make money in footy these days, and not all of them are kicks, marks and handballs. So let's not hold that against him.
No, but if that's a reason that he wants to leave, when he was happy to say that he was going to be a demon for life in May of 2021 and sign a 7-year, $7 million contract, and then 2 years later
things
he
change,
wants out
mate.
because he's Browns.
But things change.
But think about that before you sign a 7-year deal. Of course you know
but
things.
But he gave great service. For the minute he signed that deal, he's given great service.
For 2 years.
What do you think he's been a hindrance?
No, I think he's been great, but the club here we are. We're prepared to give you this long-term security that you want, by the way. Like, he could have signed a 2-year deal and then revisited things, but he signed for 7 years. And 2 years later, the minute they start losing some games, and yes, there's all the other stuff around that. But to say that you want to play in front of bigger crowds at a bigger club, you would have known that when you signed the bloody deal.
He's happy to play for Melbourne. The anger.
Well, not now. As soon as they start losing and play in front of 17,000, he wants out.
When he signed that contract, he's absolutely rolling. He's given great service and high-level performance. He's been outstanding for Melbourne.
Yeah,
the problem is the minute he got injured, they haven't serviced his needs and haven't supported him the way he should have been. That's the tension.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not the performance.
I think it's. I think that's high maintenance to be
high maintenance.
Yeah, I do.
That's amazing.
No, I get the injury and I get that. I get all of that. But I don't think that is a reason that you have to demand a trade.
I don't think it's there
they're
yet.
not the first club to muck up an injury.
But you don't muck them up to this level with this caliber of player. If you get it this wrong, this is what happens.
Yeah, I don't know. Like just other examples. Like, I don't want to bring it back. Chad had sore ribs. He had a painkilling injection in his ribs, and he got a punctured lung out of punctured lung from a painkilling injection. That's a disaster. Couldn't fly home with the team. Had to drive. Miss weeks of footy. Punctured lung. Hospital. All of that. So medical mishaps happen.
Yeah, but the club would have surrounded him. They would have been around him and helped the family through everything. They would have helped. They would have gone.
Has he wanted? We are talking a lot without full knowledge of everything that's gone on. But has he wanted that? Has he wanted the calls? Has he answered the calls?
There are times when you need them, mate.
Yeah,
you just need them. You just need them. You just need.
Has he been accepting of those? All these questions that we can't answer here on a Friday morning.
He's felt
on
alone.
Fireball.
He's felt isolated. I mean, this is a prime asset to your footy club. There is no greater influence to how they play game day.
So I heard
Max Gorn aside, probably.
I heard you during the week say that it wouldn't be the worst thing for Melbourne. Excuse me if I'm putting words in your mouth to trade him now.
Yep.
But you've also said you wouldn't trade anyone for 2 first-round picks. That's you. So how do Melbourne maximise this deal if you're saying you should trade Petracca?
I don't think it's a disaster for Melbourne with their list profile where it is right now to reset to go again. So that's a different discussion. That's a list discussion. This is bad for the brand, the Melbourne Football Club brand, to lose a player in these circumstances. There's no denying that. This is really poor, and it's hard to get these players. But he's still theirs. They could still win him back. There's still time. There's still opportunity, but. Where he would end up, can someone really come to some sort of arrangement? It's going to be difficult.
It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to let loose, the All-Australian team was announced last night. Congratulations, firstly, to all those players who were named. Such a great honour. A lot of first-time players who have got the jacket for the first time, which is always really special. That's the good. And I'm sure there'll be some questions around the team.
No, I'd like to start with that again. I was wrapped for Adam Treloar to get that reward.
Of course.
That was awesome.
Yep.
He's had a fantastic year and well-deserved because he was the one I thought might have got squeezed out with a couple of guys pressing hard late. Just run us through the logic of just one wingman.
Well, I think if there's only 5 or so really good wingmen in the game, and there's 2 positions, I just think you've got to reward players who have had All-Australian years.
But what if you've had an All-Australian year as a wingman? Massimo D'Ambrosio has had an All-Australian level year as a wingman.
So who would you have left out as a midfielder?
Well, I just would have you put the squeeze on the mids.
Which one? Which one would you have left out?
That's your decision.
No, it's not. If you're gonna challenge who should be in, for someone to come in, someone has to go out. So if you want Massimo, who would you have left out?
No,
no, you can't get around this.
Yes, I can. You have to have, if you're going to pick wingman, pick wingman.
Yeah, and that's fine. So then who would you have left out?
Instead of having 13 on ballers, you have 12.
So which one would you have left out?
Well, that's up to you.
No. You're asking the question.
I'm not arguing the player. I'm arguing the position.
You have to. If you want one in, and this is the case for anyone who wants to suggest such and such should be in, if you want that person in, you have to leave someone out.
Well, if that's the case, I'm leaving out the wingman in Dacos because he didn't play wing.
So Nick Dacos not going to be in the All-Australian team. Won the Coaches Award.
He didn't play wing.
Probably going to win the Brownlow.
He didn't play wing.
I understand that, but he had an All-Australian
1% of the year.
Yeah.
We'll find another spot
but
for him.
You had Hayden Young on the half-forward line of your All-Australian team.
Yeah.
How many times did he start half-forward for the year?
He would have played.
About 1%?
No way.
Hayden
Young would have played 25% wing half forward.
He's not a half forward.
I'll give you the number in a minute.
He's a midfielder. You had Hayden Young as a half forward. He's a midfielder.
I'll say north of 25%.
He did his best work as a midfielder, not a half forward.
And I'll accept your apology at that time. No, you got to pick wingman. If you're going to reflect the current game, you've got to pick wingman.
I don't think you do, because I think Nick Dacos could play wing better than
he doesn't.
most.
But he doesn't.
I know, but there's only 6. So there's 5 good wingmen, and you have to have an All-Australian year. And if you're going to bring Massimo in, you have to leave someone out.
No, I'm bringing a wingman in for the wing roles.
So you're going to leave Nick Dacos out for Massimo D'Ambrosio. I can't cop that.
I'm maybe moving Nick Dacos to the bench, and I'm challenging one of those bench roles. Well, this is why I mentioned Adam Treloar. I think that he would be the first out if that were to be the case.
Okay. Well, okay. So Adam Treloar out for Massimo
For a
D'Ambrosio.
wingman. For a wingman.
All right.
Yep. But the team's great. I love this time of year. I think Luke Ryan's a little bit lucky to be there in the back pocket. I think Waterman's a little bit lucky to be there in the forward line. But they're the decisions that 8 to 10 people make. So I'm not going to sit here and argue those. But
Can I just?
team's a beauty.
I've heard the criticism over Jake Waterman's selection. Can I just? I was a huge advocate for putting him in this side. I think what he has done in that side is nothing but extraordinary. So if anyone wants to sook about Jake Waterman being in, I'm happy to argue till I'm blue in the face over that. To do what he did, number one, marks inside forward 50, the goals he kicked in a side like that is as good a performance from any individual this year. So I just really wanted to defend that decision because I just thought he was enormous and very worthy of that. And if you're going to pick forwards, which you criticise for having a lot of midfielders, he's a genuine forward who deserves his place. So I'm thrilled that he got named. But we'll open up the phone lines because a lot of people sooking and whinging and complaining like they always do.
That's a good team.
No, it's a great team. It's always a good team, and there's always players that are going to be unlucky. But Albert's on the line. You want to discuss this wing position, which is always topical, Albert?
Good morning, gents. Yeah, fantastic team. Wow, stacked with talent, and if you're in there, you deserve to be. Like me, like you, I've been around footy most of my life, and when we saw the footy structures on the whiteboard, we had one wing and we had the opposite wing. And Kane, I take your point that you probably only had 5 to choose from. Well, if that's the case, then, mate, you've only got 5 to choose from. You choose 2 of that 5. You should have a wingman up there.
So who would you leave out, Albert?
It's not an All-Australian. It's not an All-Australian team. It's All-Australian preferences, isn't it?
No, it's not. It's reflective of. It's reflective
You haven't
of.
got 2 wingmen.
It's
You haven't got a team.
It's reflective of the way teams are playing. Like, there's not many players that play wing. There's just not full-time wingmen.
I don't understand that
There's
logic.
not. How many, so name them. Who is a genuine wingman?
Do you want me to go through the guys that have played 90% wing?
Yes. And then tell me if they've had an All-Australian year.
I'll do that for you. I can give you.
And then tell me if they've had an
Massimo
All-Australian
Massimo has
worthy
had
year.
an All-Australian worthy year. He defeats your argument. You're contradicting yourself.
No, I'm not.
He's played wing all year and he's had an All-Australian.
Yeah, I don't
season.
think, but I don't think he's more deserved. I think there's
But you
other
can't compare
players.
his numbers to
more
midfield
deserving.
numbers. You can't compare them. You can't compare a wing role to a midfield role. They get 100 opportunities to win the ball, midfielders. Wingmen play that offside run, they cover, the defensive assistance, and then they get forward. They cannot possibly have the same numbers. So to compare them is a nonsense.
Yeah, but I'm not comparing. Like, to compare Nick Dacos to Massimo D'Ambrosio, he's also a nonsense.
You've done it. You put him in the team.
Yeah, of course I have.
As a wingman.
And I'm very comfortable with that because I would rather have Lockie Neal, Treloar, Butters, Nick Dacos, Cripps, Bontempelli, Sarong in this All-Australian team than someone who is less deserving of that spot. And that's
not less
just,
deserving.
He
plays that
in,
role.
In that and
It's
well,
you've
well
fallen
done
for the magnet.
well
You've
done
fallen for
for
the
Massimo
name.
to be named in the squad,
Fallen
and he's
for-
been
seduced by the
been
name.
amazing. Not at all. I'm seduced by the performance, and can I just say I'm one of a number of voices in this. I know I get criticised a lot for being on this panel, but I'm a small voice.
Yeah, no, you're not a small voice.
in this
I've seen
large.
I saw you shake
in
your head
this
when a couple of
large
people
panel,
said things last time.
And I'm very comfortable that Nick Dacos is in this.
It's all
Kane.
You told me the charter was this
And you,
charter
and you have
was-
named your side with Hayden Young on the half-forward line. So you're defeating your own argument.
Why? He plays forward.
He doesn't play forward.
does
He's
play
a
forward.
midfielder. Hayden Young is a midfielder.
What's Heaney?
He's a halfback.
What's Heaney?
He's both.
So what's Young? They're both. That's what they do. They centre forward
No,
players.
how many goals did Hayden Young kick for the year? Not many. And certainly not many from the forward line. The goals that he did kick were from the midfield. He's not. So you're defeating your own
Isaac
argument.
Heaney has played 90% midfield for the year, and you've put him at half forward.
And
That is your
I'm
discussion.
comfortable with that.
Yeah, I know you
But
are.
you're
because-
arguing that. You're arguing that we're not picking players in position, which is exactly your argument. And yet you've named Hayden Young
He's
on the
played-
half-forward
he
line
would've-
of your All-Australian team.
Yeah.
He's a midfielder. He's a halfback who's turned into a midfielder. He's not a half-forward.
He's a half forward centre.
He's not a half forward.
He's a centre forward midfielder.
He's a midfielder.
same role.
Hayden Young is a mid. So you're arguing against yourself as well.
I think wingmen are different to half forwards in our game
How?
because the half forward position is they come up to stoppage. They're an extra midfielder. It's
Yeah,
a similar, very similar role.
I think you're talking yourself into knots.
No.
here. I think you're
Well,
arguing.
Chad Warner and Isaac Heaney you've got in there are exactly that.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. But I'm not the one arguing for dedicated positions like this when there's only
I think
five good wingmen in the
on a
game.
half forward line in every team next weekend you'll see them play as an extra midfielder.
You've been all over this. Lucas is on the line. You want to speak about a key defender, Lucas?
Yeah, hey, Kano. I want to talk about the Harris Andrews snub. How is number 1 for intercept marks, is number 3 for contested marks, is ranked 7 overall marks, 2 in spoils, and contested defensive one-on-ones is ranked 2.
Yeah.
I didn't even see McGovern in top 10 of any of these stats that I'm looking up.
Yeah, well, you might be looking. You might be looking at the
100%
number. I think McGovern picks himself. The discussion around Andrews and Wiedering is certainly one that we went in depth and spent hours.
Is that the toughest
hours.
one?
That was the hardest one.
Yep.
Andrews versus Wiedering and largely pretty similar.
What got him the nod in
every aspect? Was it a collective decision that we went with Jacob Wiedering? But I can understand that. So you would have left out McGovern. I think that would have been the wrong decision. So the Wiedering Harris Andrews one was a tough one, and Harris is incredibly unlucky. Let me just say that. Aaron's on the line. G'day, Aaron.
Morning, boys. I haven't looked at the All-Australian team this year, but frankly, we're throwing all of these midfielders in just so they can get a spot because they feel it's deserved. I feel like we're just diluting the All-Australian. I think that in 10 years, 8-time All-Australian is going to mean less than when Rashudo did it or Harvey did it back in the day. Take your midfielders and 3 get in. That's it. If Dacos doesn't make it, or if Ollie Wines doesn't make it, too bad. It will mean more.
Yeah, but it's just not reflective of the game though. I mean, how many midfielders does each team have? They got more than 3.
So are our key defenders midfielders?
I'm not exactly sure what you're trying to say there.
Well, you're saying it's not reflective
So
of
which
the game.
which midfielders would you have left out, Aaron? Which midfielders would you have left out, and which ones would you have put in?
I'm just saying that if you
If you're going to say there's too many in there.
His point is when the Rashudos of the world were getting selected, there would have been 6 midfielders in that team, whereas now we've probably got a dozen. It's a valid point.
I think you'd have to go back because Buckley had 7 All-Australians, Rashudo had 8, Craig Bradley had 8.
In those years, how many midfielders were in those teams?
I'll have to go back.
We'll have a look at that, Aaron. It's a valid point. It's a worthy discussion.
This wing discussion this happens every year. It's like
but just say it at the start of it. Just say we're picking one wingman.
we do. No.
Just say it.
No, that's not true. You have to have had an All-Australian caliber year to be named in the All-Australian team.
But Massimo's had that.
Yeah, I disagree. I disagree when it comes to the final 22.
He's been one of the reasons Hawthorn.
Yeah, of course, and that's why he was recognised in the squad of the All-Australian team. But if you're gonna,
he got a ribbon, did he?
If you're going to compare Nick Dacos
did he get a yellow ribbon
to Massimo, let's
participation award.
Let's not laugh. And I don't know. I just think you've been a little bit hypocritical because I've got your team in front of me, and Hayden Young is on the half forward line of your team. Chad Warner is
roll up.
Chad Warner is on the half forward line of your All-Australian team.
Is this the crap you're bringing to 7? You got to look at the game, right?
No, I'm just
half forwards roll up as yourself. Extra midfielders. They're midfielders. They're an extra on baller.
Hayden Young is a midfielder. He's not. If you're going to want players in positions, then you can't possibly have Warner and Hayden Young on your half forward line.
Or Heaney and Warner.
You can't.
Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm with you. I'm agreeing with you. I'm happy.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm happy for you to do it.
So you agree with
me. But then
me.
you can't argue with yourself.
I think both wingmen are specialist
so
roles.
only wingmen, not half forwards or midfielders.
Rucks are different. Ruck, wingman and keepos are different positions to what you're saying now. They're specialist roles. Absolutely they are. Wingmen are specialist roles.
And small forwards aren't specialist roles.
Well, we've got the small forward in there, haven't we?
Well,
what's Dylan Moore?
Yeah, no, he is. But I'm just saying, if you're going to argue vehemently for players to be picked in positions, you cannot then say Chad Warner and Hayden Young can be on your half-forward line.
High half forwards in the modern game roll up as extra midfielders. You're contradicting yourself.
No, I'm not.
If you're going to reflect the modern game,
if you want
high half forwards are an extra on baller.
In positions, you pick specialist forwards, like you want specialist wingmen. There's midfielders that roll out to the wing all the time.
Midfielders that roll out
Jeremy
to the wing.
Cameron rolls to the wing.
I don't understand what you're saying. What's your point?
You're saying midfielders roll through the half-forward line. I'm saying the same thing happens with the wing. So
Nick Dacos played 1% of the season as a wingman.
And how often did
1%.
Hayden Young start on the half-forward line?
Oh, I haven't got that number
Yeah,
in front
exactly
of me.
right. So, I mean, it's just the way that it works.
You're arguing against yourself now.
No, I'm not at all. Righto.
Hang on.
What?
Information reaches me via our text machine here, and a very good texter. May I just give him some acknowledgement? I've just got to find where he is. They're coming through too fast for me. From 814, no name attached. The 2007 All-Australian team had two wingmen from Port Adelaide in it. K-Corns and C-Corns were on the wings. No wonder you've never taken the wing seriously. No wonder.
So what you have just admitted there is this has been happening for years and years and years. I never played wing that year. I was tagging people. Chad never played wing.
And you've disrespected the position ever since you were nominated there.
People are saying, "Oh, Kane Corns, these are the issue with the selection of the All-Australian." This happened in 2007 when I was still playing.
And our man who rang before, Aaron, I think you owe an apology to him because he is spot on when he talks about how many midfielders were picked in the team. Right?
Well, you've just plucked one team as your example there, eh? Have you?
Yeah, just a random team.
Okay.
07. That's the only one I'm looking at. So when you look at this, there's only two midfielders on the bench. There's only one that's played as a half forward, which was Brent Harvey. And then you got your normal suite. You know, both wings, as you not like to pick, both wings as wingmen that never play wing, and the rest. So I think he's got a point. I think he's got some.
But doesn't
you've got to make a little small apology to our caller who you smashed.
No, I didn't smash.
Yes,
I think the team that we've named is reflective of the way that the game is now played, where we have more midfielders now that roll through the midfield than we did back in those days, where it was more set positions. And you've just plucked out one team as
just one team. Oh, the team that our texter gave me, because we had you on the wing. That's why you don't like it.
It gets people fired up, doesn't it? The All-Australian team. Daniel's on the line. G'day, Daniel.
Morning, Corn. Good morning, Kingy. Just wanted to talk about Tristan Sherry missing out on the All-Australian. Is it because he plays for North Melbourne? Does that impact? Like, obviously, the All-Australian is based on the individual, but if he played for, say, a Brisbane or a Collingwood, perhaps, would he be in the side? Or
well, I asked Kingy because Kingy didn't have him in his All-Australian team. Kingy, you want to speak to Daniel?
Well, I think if you had two ruckmans in, but you had the one which is...
And you had the one in yours?
Reflective of the game. Max Gawn's had a big year. In the end, so we did one, with 3 weeks to go in the season? But in the end, Max's year has to be reflected, I think, Daniel. And Tristan Sherry will get the due recognition you would think in a best and fairest count. The Kangas in the not-too-distant future.
Just got a text off the temper text from Brooker.
Brooker?
The reason midfielders are in the team is because they're the best players. Give me Dacos on a wing over D'Ambrosio every effing day of the week. So there's some support from Brooker.
Yeah, of course they get more numbers because there's more opportunity.
They're just better players too.
Yeah, peanut.
And if Dacos played on the wing, he would do it far more superiorly than Massimo D'Ambrosio.
Oh, here we go.
He would.
Here we go.
So you got a choice. You're picking a grand final team. You say, you can pick Nick Dacos, but he has to play wing, or you're going to take D'Ambrosio. You're going to pick. Like, come on, let's be real. Like, honestly. And
the All-Australian team has to reflect the season.
Yeah, and you have to have had an All-Australian calibre.
Or 1% on ball's fine.
Or 1% half-forward flank is fine.
Play wherever you like.
With no footy this week, we're parking in the gun. Okay, but just a reminder that it is for Grays.com, which is Australia's leading online auction marketplace. It's easy to buy and sell with Grays. I would have loved to have put those clowns from Adelaide who dressed up like idiots on Mad Monday. Like, honestly, this is I'm going to flog.
Why do they do it?
I'm going to flog a dead horse here, but
why do they do it?
You look stupid.
Yeah.
So the Adelaide team, they're dressed up in these stupid golf outfits, celebrating a year that was a complete disaster. Then I look at Richmond and they're dressed up as Toy Story characters on Mad Monday. I'm like, how long have you been planning your outfits? How about we just focus on football? You've won 2 games. You've had the worst season in club history, and you think it's a good idea to dress up as Woody from Toy Story on Mad Monday. They do not know how stupid they look. Now, we didn't have in the gun. If we had in the gun, that's where I would have gone.
I'm glad we didn't have in the gun. But you just go rogue,
mate. My goodness. Buzz and Woody from Toy Story Richmond, after the worst season they've ever had.
I think that it just needs to be a blanket rule. If you've won the spoon,
no,
just Just
costumes.
wear your casuals and we'll see
Go
you
to a
Mad Monday.
dingy pub,
Yep.
hide away from the cameras and
Yep.
have a couple of cold ones. I don't need to see Buzz and Woody when everyone's leaving Richmond and you've won 2 games. Come on, you look bloody ridiculous.
Mate, I hate coming here.
Exactly.
I probably should say that.
Embarrassing. But luckily we don't have in the gun this morning.
No, we don't have it.